There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Pugs Moran. This is night one of the Diddy trial, the Sean Diddy Combs federal sex trafficking trial. Opening arguments and witnesses' testimonies. They were heard from today in a federal court in New York City. Just to recap for you, Combs, 55, has pled not guilty to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. If he's convicted, he's looking at possibility of life in prison. Good evening, everyone. As I said, I am Pugs Moran from The Rant, talk radio for normal Americans every afternoon, Monday through Friday since 2021. Where? Well, right here on the RadioMisfits.com podcast and live streaming platform. Welcome to our special coverage of the Diddy trial. We're calling it Diddy or Didn't He? See how clever we are? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide nightly breakdowns and hopefully some spirited commentary on the day's events in court. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, do all of those things. Don't miss a minute. We're going to do it absolutely every day, and we will give you the blow by blow. Now, I'm not the only person that is. I'll be your guy. I'll be your primary guy, hosting all of this. But every day I hope to be joined by a different group of people with different perspectives. Today we have a great one. For the first show of Diddy or Didn't He, I'd like to welcome in, first in, James Parker, ladies and gentlemen. He is James Parker from WBAP Radio here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. Afternoons, 2 to 5. Hi, James. Thank you so much for doing us.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
I just said thank you so much for doing us.
Yeah, same thing.
Did you hear that?
Well, I've been reading so much Diddy stuff. It kind of leaches out after a while.
All right, you're not alone. James is not the only one that's going to be breaking this down with me today, because we have a guy who I don't do enough stuff with. Somebody who I've always enjoyed hanging out with. About 25 years ago, I think maybe is around the time when we first met. He has gone on to do just incredible things. You can see him absolutely every night. I don't know. I should know. I should be better at this. Anyway, it's Headkrack from Dish Nation, Side Dish, 25 words or less, Pictionary. My God, do I need to go through your entire resume? Crack, welcome in.
You don't got to do all that. What up, fam? Good to see y'all.
This is terrific. So I've got 2 professionals with me, 2 people who I hold in the highest regard as not only just good hangs, but people with decent heads on their shoulders. So this is some serious stuff that we're going to be talking about here. This is, this is an ugly situation, and we're Americans, so somehow we're going to turn it into entertainment. And I'm going to sit here and we're going to try and be as appropriate as possible. But celebrity, the downfall of celebrity in this country, it is just something that we love, right? I mean, I don't know. How do you explain, Crack, our fixation? And it's not just in times like this. It's every day. It's minute by minute. How do you explain our fascination? You as a guy who hosts This Nation every night now for 10 years I've been seeing you there?
Shoot, like 14, really.
How do you explain this fascination that we have with what goes on behind celebrity closed doors?
I think we all want to be the fly on the wall in those events that we don't have access to. You know what I mean? The crazy thing is, if you rewind this 3 to 5 years ago, everybody wanted to be at a Diddy party. And now in 2025, no one wants to admit that they went to a Diddy party or they even care.
Now, good. I'm glad that you brought that up, because you are a significant individual in the world of urban radio, in the world of entertainment. You've been around. And I had to think of all of the people that I know, would any of them have had occasion to attend a white party? And you were the guy. James, am I wrong? He's the guy that I thought.
Haven't you met Diddy?
Yeah, don't you have? Do you have?
I have met Diddy. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many times?
Not fortunate enough to go to a party. So here's the thing. Very first time I met Diddy was season 1 of Making the Band. Me and a couple friends of mine, we went to New York. We went for the audition, and we auditioned in Manhattan, and we didn't make it to the next round, which hurt. There was no couch, yo. But
Sure.
you know, hindsight 2020, maybe there would have been if you made it to the second round. I don't know. So that was the first time, and I was frustrated with that situation because like Craig Mack, who was there, like one of his artists, God bless the dead, he was feeling me, and I don't know what Diddy was looking for, and apparently me and my friends weren't. It is what it is, right? Fast forward years later, he actually came on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show, which I was doing at the time. He was promoting the Last Train to Paris project he had with those two females. I forgot what they called themselves when they were that 3-person group. But anyway, so he
Danity
came to
Kane.
promote that.
Oh, Danity Kane, right?
Not Danity Kane. One of the girls from Danity Kane was in that group. Hold on, I'm Googling it right now. Last Train to Paris, P. Diddy. Hold on, bear with me. Almost got it. Oh, Dirty Money. That was the name of the group, Dirty Money. So he was promoting that Dirty Money group. He came to the show, and yo, we had a producer that year that was a can we curse here?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Our producer was a dick at that time, right? However, hindsight 2020, maybe he was a dick for all the right reasons. Because, yo, he was treating Diddy like he was a new artist who had like one single out that was halfway a hit. Like we did like a break and a half with him. And I'm like, bro, this Diddy, like, what are we doing? And he's like, I don't care. You know, like, shoot, he's a person just like the next person is coming through. And I'm like, yo, we don't get people like this on the show often. It was one of many arguments that I would have with people, like, you know, during my tenure doing that show. But, you know, he was cool, you know, all things considered, you know what I mean?
Okay,
But
so let me ask you this. So I don't want to put you in any sort of position where you're speaking out of turn, but did he come across to you in person in the moments when maybe the camera wasn't around? Did he come across to you as the same as the brand that we see, the uber confident, the sunglasses on inside, staying in the room for that? So did he carry that brand or entirely, or, you know, suddenly the cameras go off and he's Pee Wee Herman?
nah, like very cool, very relaxed, and very seemingly in control of his narrative,
He
right?
doesn't seem to have a sense of humor to me. That's one of the things that I've noticed about him. You know how some people are just jovial, funny guys who laugh at shit? He doesn't seem, so that's why I'm wondering what he was like just from your observations.
You know, the crazy thing is I was expecting him to lash out more based on how our producer was treating him at the time. And I was actually shocked that it didn't get a lot more vocal, unless something was said behind closed doors, like, when he left. But it was just really weird that he just kind of just took that treatment, because it just really, it seemed like maybe like my producer wanted to go to a white party and didn't get a chance to, and he held that grudge because it felt personal. It felt very personal, but Diddy didn't let it bleed out into any of the energy in the room. I didn't feel nothing weird from Diddy. Ricky didn't feel nothing. Nobody in the room felt any weird about all that happening. But it was interesting that the guy that I know has the ability to pop off, because listen, I mean, I know what he's on trial for, but I know all the things that he also could be on trial for that he's not.
Sure.
And that guy was not present.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing about him. He's a professional. He was in a radio studio surrounded by media. I don't think he's going to allow him to lose himself in that moment. However, a valet at some club that maybe doesn't, tosses the keys to, he might pop off with that guy. He's calm, cool, and extremely calculated with everything. And that's why he's such a success. And regardless of all of the creepy stuff that we are going to learn, and we're going to get into it here in a couple of minutes, some of this stuff, regardless of all of that, I mean, he knows how to behave when he needs to. He knows how to sell the brand. James, are you following this very closely? Are you covering it all on your afternoon show there on WBAP here in Dallas?
Yeah, we've done a few segments on it. The one thing about this that I think would be remembered that we would talk about in 10 or 20 years is he has a list, a lot like the Epstein list. There's a Diddy list. He wasn't the only person participating in some illegal stuff there. And so who else got roped into this? Cat Williams talked about being invited and turning it down. Yeah. And there's a lot of people who didn't turn it down, apparently. And who are these people?
We've heard some very intriguing celebrity names mentioned.
So then, and then knowing this, like, Diddy kind of seems like one of the people that would end up on Epstein's island. Is he on that list too? Is there like a Venn diagram where these two lists overlap of just some like pedophilic, rapey hell?
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, so there's a Diddy list and there's an Epstein list. And I think we may be hurt by the Diddy list more. The Epstein list is probably more important because it's like dignitaries and men of state and tycoons and billionaires and whatever.
Boring.
Yeah, but we know the people on the Diddy list.
No, man, I want to know what Mike Myers was getting into. Why was Mike Myers mentioned?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, don't break my heart. And it's gonna, but it needs to get out, and our hearts need to be broken, and time will heal all.
But would it change your opinion if Mike Myers went to the island but in character?
Why? I don't know, like Austin Power character.
Which one? No, I thought it was
Love Guru. If he went there dressed as Love Guru, would that change your opinion on the whole thing?
Not if he did anything with like an underage, trafficked human being. Yeah, that would. He's still horrible.
All right, boys, we can riff on this kind of nonsense forever, but let's get into what happened today in the trial. Day one from the federal courthouse there in Manhattan. The morning, this morning, I wasn't sure we were going to be doing this because I didn't have 100% confidence that we were actually going to get a jury sat. Just knowing how the wheels of justice work when they said they were going to finalize sitting the jury in the morning, and then the plan was for opening statements in the afternoon. I thought, no way. They're going to come up with some reason to delay this thing. What was that? James, did you just do something?
Oh, it's just B-roll for whenever we talk about Cassie.
Oh, okay. Very good. Look at him producing from the wings. I love it. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's get into what happened today actually in the court. Okay, so we did get a jury sat, and then we did get opening statements, and then we got not one, but we got two witnesses. The first two witnesses for the prosecution were called. We heard from them, so we're going to get into all of that. But the first thing that I wanted to say, what happened with in the opening statements? In the opening statements, did you guys hear about this? We found out something that we didn't know before this was revealed, and that was that there was a $100,000 bribe paid to a security guard at the Hotel Intercontinental, and the promise was that tape that we all saw, the Cassie in the hotel at the Intercontinental tape, that was going to disappear. And this security guard, Israel Flores, received $100,000 from Diddy minutes after that happened, and he said he'd take care of it, and here we are. So
wow.
Yeah. James,
do you get a refund on that sort of thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk to the manager. But
no honor among thieves, I guess.
Well, the video is so powerful because this is us seeing with our own eyes. This guy being the monster that is described in words, and it's just not as powerful.
The other thing, Israel Flores, the security guard who was paid a $100,000 bribe to make sure that nobody saw that video for 3 years. I think it was 3 years later that CNN finally got the exclusive rights and found it somehow. He testified why he was important. They called him first. He was important because he was able to, what are the three things that the defense needed to ID? They needed somebody to directly ID, him, Puffy being there. And he testified that, yeah, I got up there. Puffy was angry, paid me $100,000, ID, venue. Where did this happen? This did happen at this place, the Hotel Intercon. Anyway, he was a very important guy to get up there first. But they got him up there. They had him establish the validity of the bribe in the video and what happened that we didn't see in the video. And then he was gone. And then we got Daniel Phillip. Oh, Daniel Phillip was witness too. We're going to spend some time with Daniel. Daniel is the male escort who Diddy paid thousands and thousands of. James, why don't you describe to me what the job was there for professional male escort Daniel Phillip?
Daniel Phillip had to make sure she was appropriately covered in oil and then perform certain carnal actions at the request of the defendant.
Man, you said that in a way that was no fun at all. I'm going to tell you what he did. He got $6,000 to have marathon sex. 10 hours was the minimum. Marathon sex with an oil-covered Cassie, while Diddy masturbated in the corner and filmed it. So that's what he was. That's right out of the box.
It's a weird move.
It is a really weird move. It also an interesting way to make a living, but weird nonetheless.
Well,
Interesting. I would argue, how do I get that job? $6,000 to oil up Cassie for 10 hours?
But Diddy's in the corner watching you.
Yeah, and you know what else I just you know what else I just realized? This is like a
What's that?
whole against her will. She's feeling like a prisoner. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna do
You're
that
gonna be
Homer.
cellmates with Ron Jeremy at this rate, you know, like
Yeah. I'm gonna do that Homer Simpson thing where I go right back into the bushes. Never mind. Forget I said that. You're right. Terrible situation.
yeah.
But still, you know, if you're a terrible person,
why is that fun
This is
for you
the
though?
job for you.
If you're Diddy, why is that fun for you?
I think sometimes when people reach a certain level of just like you've done everything, you've done it 10 times, got the t-shirt, you try to find new things to get your rocks off. And when you think about somebody like that who's been famous since like the early 90s, you know, damn near like late 80s, yo man, you've seen it all, you've done it all. So what is there left to do? And then also too, when you look at how he acquired this person. Not the escort, but Cassie was someone else's girl when she came into that situation.
okay,
Y'all do
so
know that,
I
right?
don't
tell
know
me
about
this
that.
story.
No.
No, I don't know that story. Thank you.
So
This is the
so there was
background.
an artist by the name of Ryan Leslie who was Cassie's main producer slash boyfriend,
Can I
right?
ask you a quick question though for
Yes.
context? Before she met Diddy, was Cassie a rising name? Was she already in the business, or was she a complete unknown discovered by Diddy? That's what I thought.
Right on the cusp. And I think the Diddy thing pushed the needle over just a little bit more because our first single was a record called Me and You. I can't remember if that was released through Bad Boy or not. I don't think it was. I think Ryan Leslie put it out independently. And then once Diddy took a liking to it, maybe jumped on a remix or something, it helped propel that record a little further down the road. But, you know, she was a face, she was a voice, she had a sound that looked dope. The video looked, especially if you watch the original version of the video for Me and You, it looks like the type of stuff they be talking about happens at these parties. Like, but they ended up doing a different version of
Pull it
that
up,
video, so it might be harder to find. I think it was like more like World Star kind of energy back when it came out in the the early 2010s, right? But between point A and point B, Diddy ended up getting Cassie away from Ryan Leslie. And then like Ryan Leslie's life just kind of just went down. He makes money in other weird, like, smart ways, but like it never was what it was supposed to be after that. I feel like somebody helped change the locks on him.
Well,
Share
let
the
me ask
video,
you
Pugs.
Share what video? Oh, here we go. What is this? The video that you were
Is this
just
the video you're talking about? Headkrack.
That's the cleaned up one. I already could tell you that's the cleaned up one because I seen the other one. The other one is in a hotel room.
Okay. All right, well, we'll go find that one then.
That's the polished one that they could show on 106 in Park. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I didn't know there was another one.
Yeah, there was another one that predates this one, and you could tell it was shot with less of a budget. It was a little bit more sexual in nature, a little more risque, but that was, I think, pre the Diddy Bad Boy influence, assuming that they had any like real say on that particular project.
So let me ask you this about Cassie, because I only know her through her association with this trial and in this situation. What was she? Was she a dirty girl? Was she more of like a confident woman? You know what I mean? Like, what was her brand as a performer?
You didn't really get a chance to get a real read on it because Me and You was the only big song that she had. There was another single and the name escapes me at this moment, but the image that they was putting out was a very hypersexual, image. They was using that sex sells aspect on it. Not saying that justifies, the treatment, that, she may have been,
No, but that's
privy
how
to.
she was allowing herself to be marketed as such. And so that's
Absolutely.
interesting.
And from the outside looking in, Pugs, it looks like she kind of came into that situation of like, hey, I'm going to leave with the winner, whoever the winner is. You know what I mean? So like here you are with Ryan Leslie, who's a talented producer, but here you have Diddy, who's a star maker and a millionaire, billionaire playboy. And, she going to go with it seemed like she went with what she thought was greener pastures.
All right. My last question on the subject of Cassie, because I really don't know any of this stuff. What was her reputation? Like now, All I know is this poor girl. Look at her, this beautiful little girl. I'm seeing her being ragdoll in the hallway of the Hotel Intercontinental. But that's all I know. That's me being a dad, right? Like feeling like somebody took. I don't know what her brand was. I don't know what her reputation was. Was she a likable person, or was she kind of like a bitch? You know what I mean? Was she a tough girl? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yo, once she became Diddy's girl, she became Diddy's girl. Kind of like how like you don't know much about Bianca Censori, who is with Kanye West.
Right.
She just became just a vessel of a person, and you knew nothing about their personality, because one thing that she didn't do after she got with Diddy is put out a bunch more records, and if she did, we ain't heard them. You know what I mean?
Do you think that Diddy played any role in her kind of losing her career? Do you believe that while she was with him, I mean, did he stifle her? Because that's one of the complaints that she's saying, is that he used my career as sort of this cudgel against me, and I'd record albums, he wouldn't release them. I mean, do you know anything about all of that?
I mean, anything that we could say at this point would be all from a speculative space, right? I mean, I could understand the whole play of like, hey, well, if you want this to happen, you're gonna have to do this for me, and because people do that nonsense in the business all the time. So, not to 100% that's what happened, but from the outside looking in, you could see how this would be a thing. And then also too, come on, girl, you don't gotta do all that. You my girl. I'll take care of you. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And that could create, it's a mind game. It's psychology. Predators know who they could run that on, and they run it, and it puts you in a position of where maybe you start to doubt yourself, and you feel like maybe you don't got it, and well, this person will keep taking care of me as long as I endure what I'm enduring.
So that's interesting, James, what he just said there about it seems a very traditional sort of masculine way of looking at the relationship with the woman you're gonna marry and you're gonna produce children with. I don't want you to have a career. He didn't want her to be Gwen Stefani or Mariah Carey. He wanted her to be his and his alone. James, what do you think of I'm having a problem with my microphone. Go, James. Just talk.
That's fine. Look, explain his kid situation then, because I was caught off guard when the whole thing went down, because I thought he was somewhat of a family man, and I realized, like, if you're a famous hip-hop artist or pop artist or rock star, you probably get to have a few more like sexual liberties than the average married guy. But I thought he was more of a married man, like a family man.
Well, he's never been married, and yes, he does have quite a few kids with different women, but
7.
Yeah, like, and that's how and some are adopted, because not all of those kids are his. So I don't know if in that 7 you're including Albie Shore's son, who he actually kind of had custody of since he was younger, and then
I saw Albie Shore on CNN. That dude hates Diddy.
Yeah,
that dude
and Pugs, I don't know if you like was aware of when he was like in the hospital a few years ago.
I didn't know anything about anything until I saw him on CNN over the weekend.
Okay. So like, yeah, so Puffy has his son and has had his son for quite some time, right?
Right.
And their common thread was is a lady by the name of Misa Hilton, who is one of Puff's baby mamas as well, and I believe used to style him, and she styles a whole bunch of other people. She's getting sued she's suing Mary J. Blige right now. There's a lot going on with her as well. And and like Puffy has been taking care of Albie Shore's kid like it's his, and then like you let some of the internet whispers whisper louder. Some people say that Puff is like threatened the kid without threatening him directly per se. Like, hey, hey, well, if you keep talking, I don't know what's gonna happen. But all rumors and hearsay at this point. But it's a crazy situation.
So here we're seeing some of his kids and his mother. That's his mother, Janice. These are 3. It's one of his sons and it's 3 of his daughters. Now they all walked out of the courtroom when the male prostitute, Daniel Phillips, started getting into some really sketchy details. They all got up, joined hands, and walked out. And then, funnily enough, they came back like 5 minutes later, and like the gross details were still going, so they left a second time.
Damn.
Oh, could you imagine sitting through your dad's trial and you got to hear all about the male prostitute stuff? Oh man, I get why they left. That's terrible.
But here's
Like that's gonna be the whole trial.
Here's a question about the kids, though. He's got 3 daughters here, okay? 1 son, and then his mom. His 3 daughters are all 18 years old. Now, 2 of them look to be twins.
They are twins. Yeah, those are the twins he had with Kim Porter, who also passed away under mysterious circumstances. Got to point that out.
Right. Yeah, I've been hearing about that too. So who's the other daughter? Is that from another woman? Like, so he had 2 women pregnant at one time.
All right, I'm gonna help with the fact checking here. Who are Diddy's kids by? Because like I know who are Diddy's kids by?
Could you imagine having 2 women pregnant at one time? Could you imagine just how hard it is when you got 1 woman?
5 months. Pregnant? 5 months before the birth of his twins, Combs had a daughter born to Sarah Chapman.
Okay, that's who that is.
Okay.
All right. So
that's the one that wished him happy birthday while he was locked up. I do recall that. So there's he has 1 kid, Justin Dior Combs with Misa Hilton, Quincy Brown, that's the adopted child with Kim Porter, King Combs with King Porter, and Delilah Starr Combs and Jesse James Combs. Those are the twins he had with Kim Porter. And then Love Sean Combs with Dana Tran. That's the one James was just talking about.
Oh my God. All right. Well, hey, he and Elon Musk are going to repopulate Mars. Let's go into some of this testimony today out of professional escort Daniel Phillip. The Fed's second witness of the day was Daniel Phillip. He's a male escort who testified that he was paid to have sex with R&B singer Cassie while her then boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs watched and pleasured himself. This is right about when I guess the parents, his mom and his daughters all got up and started to leave. Phillips described the sexual encounter that took place in a room at the Gramercy Park Hotel in Manhattan sometime in the year 2012. Here's what he says. Cassandra handed him a few $1,000s to rub baby oil on her and give her a massage before the 2 had sex as Combs pleasured himself, he told the jury. That's one of the things that he testified to. Here's another. Male escort Daniel Phillips also testified that one time during the sex session with Cassie at the Jumeirah Essex House, I've actually stayed there. The Essex House there.
Where is that?
It's a nice hotel. It used to be the hotel where guests of Saturday Night Live stay at the, remember they used to do those?
Oh, yeah. Is it like Midtown Manhattan? Because Bad Boys building is across the street from David Letterman's theater. Because when I used to work at Sirius and then we'd go up there, I would sit around the corner from there. And I had no idea those things were like across the street from each other. You turn this way, it says Bad Boy Entertainment. You turn that way, it's the big Ed Sullivan
David
theater.
Letterman.
Yeah. New York is so awesome. I just go ahead and say it. New York is awesome.
It's pretty cool.
So the Essex House Hotel, the Daniel Phillip, the escort, was doing his thing there because he did it a bunch of times with him. He's there at the Essex House Hotel, and he heard Sean Diddy Combs beating his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in another room. After having sex with Ventura, Phillip said she went to the bedroom with Combs while he was in the living room. Out of nowhere, this is a quote now from the sex worker, out of nowhere, I could hear Cassie yelling, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then I could hear again that someone was being slammed around the room, Phillip testified. Here he's got more. Male escort Daniel Phillip testified that he believed singer Cassie Ventura was in real danger and that he told her to leave her then boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs after witnessing the music mogul rough her up twice. My God, where is your life when a sex worker is giving you advice and telling you to make some changes?
When the prostitute pulls you aside and like hit rock bottom. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Any comments on all of that from Phillip Daniel so far?
I mean, it's damning. And the crazy thing is, this isn't the first time that we've heard this. I know we're hearing it for the first time in court, but this guy has been speaking out for quite some time. Like there was even like a testimony that he gave to some police, I think as far back as 2018, about this exact same thing. But it wasn't an issue then. And there's a lot of deeper things at play. I think that this really has a lot to do with, more so than them trying to bring a person who's throwing like wild, questionable parties down. Like I think there's a bigger monster at the end of this, and it's just a lesson teaching moment that that the industry is trying to do to Sean Diddy Combs.
Oh,
Is
I'd
he a
like
good
to,
guy?
okay.
By no huh?
Hold on. Let's explore that a little. What do you mean? What are you saying? That this is sort of he got a little too big for his britches, and now the industry at large is sort of
Okay, well, let's look at the tail.
settling accounts, if you will.
So let's go back to like the 90s when he threw a party that he didn't have enough security at, and a bunch of people got trampled to death in New York when he was like still when he was like before he was working at Uptown Records officially.
Right.
Technically should have went to jail back then. However, his family has a decent connection with law enforcement. Do you know why?
No.
Because his father was an informant. Because his father was like a drug dealer in Harlem, and a little slight glazing hedge of protection there, perhaps. Okay. So you got that situation. Then you fast forward to the 90s, right?
Oh,
and we all know what came out.
Right?
The J-Lo situation as well.
I thought that's where you were going.
We're on the way, right?
So even jail. Go ahead.
So even before we get to the J-Lo situation, you have not even the East Coast, West Coast war, but all of those people who died back and forth between Bad Boy and Death Row that were not Tupac or Biggie, right? Look up names of people like a guy named Wolf. Look up Diddy and his connection to BMF. Look up, all these. There was a lot of people dying that we just don't talk about them because we don't know their names because they didn't have records out, on either label, but they were casualties of war.
Wasn't there a guy named Young Buck also who got didn't that guy get shot and killed?
No, well, Young Buck is affiliated with 50 Cent. He's part of G Unit. And Young Buck has a different set of sexual problems going on. They ain't really problems. It's just I ain't here to yuck nobody's yum, but
who's got the Source Awards that pulled out the gun? I thought that was Young Buck, maybe not. I don't know.
Not on behalf. He may have said he did that, but he wasn't a bad boy guy. Like Young Buck is more so, and even back when that Source Awards thing happened, the G Unit wasn't even really established yet. So it might be two different things cross-pollinating. But all that to say, there was a lot of opportunities to try to bring Diddy down for other things that had plausible facts that we should look into, even with the and I say this in air quotes, the hit on Tupac, because the guy Keefe D, who's in jail right now, said that, Puffy offered me XYZ amount of money to do the deed. The deed got done. I never got paid. So technically Puffy is off the hook for that because he did not exchange money directly with Keefe D in order for all that to happen. So then you talk about you go back to the J-Lo thing that you brought up.
Talk about that.
Well, also the lesson is get paid at least half up front.
Always. When doing a hit, absolutely. Contract deals always require.
All right, so now to J-Lo.
Yeah,
you can't do the handshake. There was a woman who since it happened, and I'm talking G League.
Let's explain what happened. So back in I say 99, maybe 2000, when J-Lo and Puff Daddy at the time were a big item. They were in a club in New York City, and a person got shot. I don't know if the person died, but supposedly Diddy just pulled a gun and shot somebody in the middle of a club. He, J-Lo, and their crew ran out of the club, jumped into their SUV. Remember, this is the story where they were throwing stuff out of a trap door in the bottom of the SUV. They were dropping drugs and guns and all that stuff. All right, so that was a huge, huge deal. Hollywood. Mainstream Hollywood jumped on it because you got J-Lo involved now. This ain't your crazy hip hop stuff that we can keep, quarantined over in this area while still ringing the cash register. But no, now you got J-Lo involved. What happened with that? Absolutely nothing, right?
Nothing at all. Well, I wouldn't say nothing. An artist that he had on Bad Boy at the time named Shine took the fall.
And doesn't he say now? He's like, I didn't shoot nobody. That was him, right? Doesn't he say that?
That's pretty much where he's leading. Yeah, these days. Yeah, like I mean, like it's one of those things where, like in hip hop, if he would have snitched, he would have looked crazy, and like his career would have been more done than it was. But he did his time. He shut up. I guess maybe in some level, Puffy maybe took care of him a little bit. But there was a woman who got shot in the face and was adamant the entire time. Sean P. Diddy Combs shot me in my face. It was him.
I have
and
seen her
you don't forget that.
I've seen her in an interview say, it doesn't matter what you hear from anyone else. I saw who pointed the gun in my face and pulled the trigger, and it was Sean Diddy Combs. How do you not believe the victim? The one person who got... And by the way, I don't know what the context of that was. I don't know if he was aiming for somebody else. Is there a story as to why that shooting occurred? Or we always just got lost in the weeds of who pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I mean, I think, anytime you're in a situation where like there's an altercation going on and a weapon is drawn, it's not as video game accurate as or movie accurate as one would think it is. People be wrestling for things, people are in the way, you can't get a clear shot. It's not always as cut dry as, I think people would want it to believe. I don't think he was trying to shoot that woman in the face, but maybe whoever it was he was arguing with, in that situation, and she happened to be the recipient of that bullet, and it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And I think going back to the J-Lo thing, man, when you think about far and large about how much money is at stake when you get people of certain calibers involved in certain things, there are people who fixers on some Ray Donovan type stuff who will swoop in and make everything be whatever the narrative needs to be so they can protect the bag, because it's bigger than J-Lo making money for a record company. It's bigger than J-Lo making money for a movie company. It's more so about the people who own these companies higher up the chain that don't want to see their income flow messed up, and they will protect these people at all costs.
James, any thoughts on that before we go back into the testimony of male escort Daniel Phillip?
Well, I think that's important context is, there's always the question mark, did he have Tupac killed or whatever? But whether you feel strongly about that or not, there's a whole lot of smoke around that little era there that Crack was talking about, the other people that died. And so it's, anybody who has that many strange deaths around them, you start to combine that into this testimony with, the people who saw him stomp people or punch people or shoot people, or, this all counts as building up a decades long character drift to where, it's almost like Roman emperors where, you get your rocks off 30 years later, you have to go to such extreme levels to do that you end up doing some things that the rest of society thinks is just crazy.
James, what a terrific analogy. They are modern Roman emperors.
That's what happened to a lot of them. Yeah. Tiberius, start with him. Yeah.
You're completely unchecked in every regard of every moment of every day. Whatever you want gets done for you. It's
eventually you get to little boys and pigs. It's damnedest thing. And it happens over and over, not to make a joke about it, but it happens over and over and over for like the next 1,000 years with emperors.
Well, he got to male escorts and bottles of baby oil. He was really into, day one. I was always joking that, we're focusing on the 100,000 bottles of baby oil, and that's absurd and blah, blah, blah. But look at us. Day one, we get reason for the baby oil. We get right out of the box. We got this guy saying that he's being paid $6,000 to rub Cassie in baby oil for 10 hours. So maybe he did have a severe baby oil.
And for people who know much about baby oil, like a fingertip amount of baby oil is enough to like glaze Cassie's entire body. I, as a black man who grew up in a baby oil having a house, has only bought baby oil twice. The stuff lasts a long time. No one's giving you more value.
It's like a big pen. You ever actually run out of ink? It's like once every 20 years. It's out of ink. Yeah.
I've got in my medicine cabinet, I've got a bottle of baby oil and a tube of Ben Gay that I swear is from the 90s. It's got that. I don't know that I have replaced it. Everywhere I've moved, just dump it into like a bag and move it on to the next place. Yeah.
I think that stuff regenerates on full moons.
Yeah. I've also never bought salt.
Wow.
I have always had salt and pepper.
It's rare, but I've bought salt. Yeah.
Never bought salt.
If you get that big one with the girl with the umbrella with the blue and white thing, like that,
Morton.
Morton
that
salt.
Morton, you got that's your lifetime salt.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's get back into the testimony of male escort Daniel Phillip, where we left off. I told you about how he he'd seen one fight with his own eyes, and then he had heard a second one. And upon hearing the second one, he pulled Cassie aside and said, "Girl, you got to get out of this situation." She apparently didn't. Phillip said that the Bad Boy Records founder chucked a bottle towards Cassie. And then grabbed her by the hair and started dragging her into the bedroom. This seems to be his move because we saw this move in the video where he ragdolls her onto the ground.
Yeah,
and
like Captain
drags her by
Caveman.
the hair.
Right. Where do you learn that? Because I wouldn't even think of doing that to like Miss Parker.
My God, that seems awful. I mean,
And I used to
Did he see that growing up?
You know, I think sometimes, yeah, like, you know, you do mimic what you see growing up or the environment that you're around. Like, you know, he lost his dad when he was young. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm not mistaken. I did my research on this. His mom was a sex worker at one point in life, right?
All right, this is new to me. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah, like I mean, and there's some stuff that, you know, like, and I read it, and I read it in multiple locations. So this ain't me just spitballing and just
Kind
like,
of
you know, making
important
things up.
information to add in.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, it creates a psychological profile.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to fuck you up, not just in the way you see other people as property, but in the way that you are sexually turned on. This explains a lot. I didn't know that.
When your own mom is you know, sexual property.
Richard Pryor's mom.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor grew up, same kind of thing. All right, let's get back to Daniel Phillip, the sex worker who Diddy paid to have sex with Cassie for these marathon freak-off sessions. He said that the Bad Boy Records founder chucked a bottle towards Cassie, then grabbed her by the hair and started dragging her into a bedroom. Mr. Combs was basically saying, "Bitch, when I tell you to come here, you come, not later." That very much sounds like a guy who may have seen his mother, you know, be bossed around by a pimp or something. That sounds very
pimpish.
Pimp-like. Yeah. He then said escort Daniel Phillip told jurors he was paid as much as $6,000 for sex sessions with singer Cassie Ventura, while her then boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs watched and masturbated. Phillip said that he got paid between $700 to upwards of $5,000 or $6,000 every time he and Cassie engaged in a sex marathon that could last up to 10 hours. And if he couldn't perform properly, sometimes he wasn't paid anything. Male escort Daniel Phillips also testified that during sex sessions with singer Cassie, her then boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs would tell them to use more baby oil, saying, and here's a quote, "Y'all need to rub more baby oil on each other. You don't have enough baby oil on." Phillips recalled Combs telling him during one of the encounters with Cassie that took place at a hotel and at Combs' homes in Manhattan in Florida. Wow. Okay, that's it. That's it for him. He's they adjourned for the day with Daniel Phillips still on the stand. He's going to come back tomorrow morning. Cross-examination of Daniel Phillips is tomorrow. So, any thoughts on all of that stuff?
Interesting. I just wish the Chappelle show was still on, because he did such a good job with the making the band stuff. I just know that the baby oil fodder would be crazy.
Well, also, like, I'm trying to compartmentalize this and be somewhat fair, you know, because you can easily get wrapped up in the emotion of this. And, you know, the beating and dragging her by her hair, obviously bad. This weird stuff where he makes her do it with the prostitute. I mean, I guess that's some sort of illegal, but it's not on the level of like beating her. And it's still, does that count as consensual at least?
Okay. You know what? This is a really good point, because I do all of these things that we're getting distracted with today, all of the gritty sex stuff. You know, I asked Crack when we started this whole thing, what is our fascination with this stuff? Why is it that we care about it? This is not the important stuff. Look, he's a pervert. So what? Yeah. I bet you there's somebody on your block who's a pervert too. This doesn't seem on the surface like, if it is what the defense is claiming, which is we're just swingers. She was into it. she broke up with him and now she's looking for, a pound of flesh or whatever. That's basically what the defense is saying.
Right.
Yes, my client's a pervert, but he's not a criminal. Okay, this is not at all what he's on trial for. This man is on trial for some very real heavy federal charges. Arson is one of them. And that comes from a car that he blew up.
Oh, the Kid Cudi car.
Tell me about Kid Cudi. Tell me what this story is.
So I remember when this broke years ago, but they didn't have a name or anything connected to like what was possibly responsible for this. And then when you hear about when this all came out, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. So I wasn't aware that this was going to make its way into the trial as of something that he's being like, held accountable for. So, oh, great. So now we have something here, because having 10,000 bottles of or 1,000 bottles of baby oil, that is not against the law. Having freaky parties is not against the law. Attempted murder is against the law. And the thing is, people knew about this stuff for quite some time. And it wasn't until he sued that liquor company that he was, in cahoots with, that these problems started arising for him. And then when you look at the tail of the tape, the different types of people who are also investors into this liquor company, people that control mass media companies, people that control. So it's like,
do this. Explain the Kid Cudi car bombing for people who don't know what happened there. What is that story?
So apparently Diddy felt that
girl, right? This was another thing
over Cassie. So apparently Diddy felt that like Kid Cudi was getting too close to Cassie or was flirting too hard. He didn't like it. So we we arranged somebody to allegedly to tamper with his car. And like one night Kid Cudi's car blew up.
And there's some similar story for Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, and I just heard about that for the first time the other day. And like, refresh my memory, what was it?
Yeah, what's that story?
This was another where it got back to Diddy that Cassie maybe had some flirty words with Michael B. Jordan. So Michael B. Jordan got a very unpleasant phone call from Puff Daddy where his life was threatened. And so like in that first day of jury selection, it's like, man, the names that come up with this are Mike Myers and Michael B. Jordan and Kid Cudi. Right. And I had to go read into that. How did Michael B. Jordan's name come up into this? That guy, he doesn't seem like the type that would, and it's weird how you feel like you can make these judgments. Like, I don't possibly know Michael B. Jordan. Man.
Women are cause all of this stuff. A beautiful woman, man,
But that makes it super scary because Michael B. Jordan may just be like a completely innocent guy who, when it was in the same room as Cassie, she exchanged some nice words his way, and whether he reciprocated or not, now all of a sudden he's getting threatened with death by a guy who's been highly associated with death. Because
like Puffy's all insecure when he sees Michael B. Jordan talking to his girl, right? I mean, and this is how
I might be too, but I wouldn't threaten his damn life.
Hey, look, I have dated a lot of very beautiful women who I had no business being with. And let me tell you something, as an ugly man who has been with beautiful women, it is rough. It is. Now, I'm not even saying Puff is ugly, but he ain't a great looking man. He ain't no, Michael B. Jordan. Let's just say that. So I could see why he might have some insecurities here.
Is he a little guy? Is that part of what's going on? Is he a little guy? He looks like he might.
Nah, he's not like he's not a fun size human being, but I could definitely see that he was, because like I don't know if you've seen like what Puff looked like back in the '90s when he had like the the beaver teeth and whatnot. Yeah. So just imagine you spend all your life, a good portion of your life not like on the good side of winning, and people making fun of you and stuff like that, and your life was what your life was, and you finally get that thing that you feel like makes you powerful, makes you be the equalizer, or whether somebody makes it or doesn't make it. And sometimes that power and influence can turn you into the monster,
right?
And some people either could weaponize that for good, or sometimes people let it get the best of them, because like, I mean, it's not like he did all bad out here. Like, there was some good things he tried to do, but when you talk about harming people because they don't want to do your sexual bidding, and you like, yo, I like Kid Cudi enough to where like if that car would have blew up, I'd have been mad, and I would testify against Puff.
Here, let me draw your attention to this. This is I know that we heard about the wife or the mother and daughters of Diddy getting up and having a rough day in court. having to sit and hear all that. But how about this guy? This is Alex Fine. This is the current husband of Cassie, who sat in court and heard about 10-hour sex sessions with prostitutes and baby oil. And oh my God, would you look at this guy? This is what she's rolling with these days. Apparently, he is a celebrity fitness trainer in Hollywood and something else. Oh, he rides rodeo bulls. He's a rodeo bull riding guy. Yeah, there's some more pictures of him. I don't know if he's got any money. I imagine he's got to have some money because I can't believe Cassie would be with somebody who's a broke ass. But there they are. That's him. He sat in court today and he listened to all them details.
Is that the opposite of Diddy? Is that what we're looking at right there? Like the complete opposite of the guy that just abused her for a decade?
Yeah, you know what? He's probably a good dude. He's probably sweet to her and a good dude, and he's there. He's showing up in court.
Cowboy hat, blue eyes.
Let me tell you something. There are a lot of like lesser men who, when your woman is going through something like this, you might be too self-centered. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Or I don't want to go there. You handle that. I'm going to hide in the hotel room. No, man, this husband, he showed up. He sat there. He took it all in. God bless him. That's a man. So I hope she's got a good dude because it doesn't sound like Diddy was good.
At all. I mean, and it seems like in him, she has somewhat of a protector, you know what I'm saying, to that degree. And like, women just want to feel safe in scenarios, especially in a scenario where you, for the longest time, didn't feel safe.
Hey, Crack, how can people find you when you're out in this media world? You're everywhere.
I'm easy to track down, man. All social media platforms, HEADKRACK. Also, you can catch me on Dish Nation 5 nights a week. And then same thing with Side Dish, which is an hour-long show that, we make the viewers the fourth mic on stage. And like, we work your comments into the show and the whole nine. It's a live show. We get to be off the hinges, me and my man Tanner. So be sure you tap in.
You have such a fun life. James, how about you? Where can people find you?
I'm on WBAP afternoons 2 to 5. You can find me WBAP app, WBAP.com. And let's talk about the court. Sketch artist here. Why do they always draw on the back of a grocery bag? Like, why is this the medium of choice for all court reporters of my entire life? Like, I mean, I guess it looks good, but why?
Well, because like typically courts are brown, right? So if the bag is already brown, all you got to do is just accent pieces to color the rest of it in.
Don't encourage them. It's not a bag. They're writing on. They're drawing on sketch. I don't know why it turns out that way. Yes, that is a similar color to a lunch sack bag, but they're not drawing on lunch bags as James made. The bigger problem here is that we don't have cameras. Okay, what we've got live blogging from inside the courtroom. That's a lot of fun. You follow the right people. The New York Post, by the way, the New York Post is doing a bang-up job. They are live blogging every little weird statement, so you can seriously follow it.
Here's the other real shallow thing that bothers me about this paper bag drawing is it was described that Diddy has gray hair now because they don't allow him to have hair dye in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not that much older than me. Am I supposed to be dyeing my hair? Because I have like grays coming in on the side. Crack, do you dye your hair? Am I supposed to be? Pugs, you don't have hair. But for those of us with hair, are we supposed to be dyeing it? Because I'm starting to look old. I could be cheating.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's a mental thing, right? When you start to see your gray hair, you start to feel older sometimes. If I didn't dye my beard, it would look like a composition notebook.
Really? You dye your beard? Oh,
yeah, man. It's a young man's game, man. You don't want people out here calling you Unc and Pops and OG.
That's true.
Oh, hey, someone called me OG the other day, and I was like, I'm going to run over you with my dented Corolla.
So hold on, though. Let me correct something because this is very important here, James. You got something just a little bit wrong there. Diddy is showing up in court with significantly grayer hair than we've ever seen him with before. The court does allow him to dye his hair. Diddy has refused. It is believed at the advice of his counsel so that he will look a little bit less threatening and a little bit more gentlemanly, if you will. So the gray hair by Diddy in court is believed to be a defense tactic. He had an opportunity to have his hair did up just right for court and all that, and he turned it down. That was reported by the New York Post last week. Woo!
I don't know if that's gonna work for him because like Bill Cosby turned one eye off and they still convicted him.
Yeah, well, again.
Like one of his eyes was in low power mode the whole trial when Bill Cosby was in court.
Cosby. Jesus.
Dr. Huxtable.
I'm a kid. I'm a Gen X kid. That Cosby one, that still stings.
Dude, I read his books when I was a kid.
I know. I'm going to survive whatever happens with Diddy, okay? He's not that important to me.
Here's what's hard for me.
Cosby hurts.
My grandmother was a huge Bill Cosby fan, and she died before anyone found out about any of this. She has no idea. She has no idea. It would totally destroy.
She left the movie when it was still good.
Yeah. It would totally destroy her whole worldview. She had 2 of his books on the shelf.
James, you're almost too young, I think. Just you're not that much younger than me, but I think our age difference is just enough that you don't really appreciate the Huxtables of like 1987, 1986. I think you were almost too young, right?
Kind of. So I was 10 and 11, so that's what we watched every Thursday. And my dad had a Bill Cosby album that I got to listen to several times growing up. And I read Fatherhood probably like 4 times at my grandma's house because she had the book. And I forgot what the other book was called, but there was 2 of them.
Did you roll right into a different world?
I did. I loved A Different World because the chicks were about 4 years older than me. And so that's the hottest thing in the world is a college chick when you're 14.
Let me tell you something.
Oh my God.
Cree Summer blew my mind. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I ain't never seen a hippie sister before. She blew my mind that was a whole option. I'm like, my God. Whatever happened to Cree Summer?
Oh my God, Pugs, get ready to get your mind blown.
Oh, tell me.
Do you know Cree Summer is the voice of Penny on Inspector Gadget?
No. Really?
Yo, Cree Summer was famous before she even did A Different World, just in the voice acting world. And when you pull up her IMDb, she do all the voice. She was also like, I think on Rugrats. She was like one of the voices.
Yeah, she was on Rugrats. She was on Tiny Toons.
Elmira on Tiny Toon Adventures.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because she's a beautiful woman, and you would think that, she would have broken through. And, I'm a voice actor. Voice actors are all ugly. I mean, there's a reason for voice actors because they can't be on camera. So
I don't know if you watched the show Atlanta, but she did an episode of Atlanta on the last season too. And
now she's got to be almost 60. I bet she's
like 50 something. She still looks great. Yeah, she looks great.
My age. That's awesome. All right, gentlemen. Hey, thank you for helping out here with Radio Misfits presents night 1 of Diddy or Didn't He. I hope you both join me again as this trial is expected to be 2 months. It's going to be possibly 8 weeks. So, we'll see. We're going to do this every night and we'll cover all the details. Crack, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
James, thank you as well. All right, that's going to do it. Remember, folks, you can hear me every day, Monday through Friday. I do the rant here on Radio Misfits. It's talk radio for normal Americans, hot topics, current events, no politics. We don't do politics. It's just a normal guy's point of view talking about the world without some bipartisan or without some partisan prism telling me how I should think. We've been doing it every day around about noon since 2021. Appreciate you joining us here for the first episode of Diddy or Didn't He. I'm Pugs Moran. You guys sleep well.